A young tech genius rose from obscurity to become the king of Silicon Valley, a title earned through ruthless ambition and unshakable arrogance. His empire was built on innovation and manipulation, crushing competitors with ease and bending laws to his will. The media adored him, the government courted him, and the world watched in awe as his fortune multiplied. Yet behind the glamour of his skyscraper office and global fame, dark alliances were forming. He made a secret pact with a shadowy government agency, trading privacy for power and planting the seeds of his own destruction. His rise was meteoric, but his ego blinded him to the cracks beneath his throne. Whispers of betrayal grew louder, and enemies he thought defeated began to circle once again. Success had turned him into a tyrant, and the world he believed he controlled was slowly slipping from his grasp. The first betrayal came not from an enemy, but from someone he once called a friend. Quote, a loyal executive, torn between morality and loyalty, stumbled upon classified documents revealing his illegal surveillance network disguised as a national security project. They had followed orders faithfully for years, but the discovery ignited a moral war within them. Should they stay silent and protect the empire or risk their life to expose the truth? Their decision became a deadly turning point, sending encrypted files to investigative journalists while covering their tracks. The king, unaware, was hosting a gala in Manhattan, boasting of future conquests as the storm brewed in the shadows. That single act of defiance set the stage for a war that would turn his empire inside out. The leak hit Washington like a thunderclap. Whispers spread in government corridors, and the FBI began its silent pursuit. The king laughed at the headlines, dismissing them as propaganda fueled by jealous rivals. Yet as days turned to weeks, a mysterious whistleblower emerged. Someone with inside knowledge, someone dangerous. Emails, hidden contracts, and secret recordings began surfacing, painting him as the architect of a nationwide privacy invasion. Senators demanded answers, the public roared in outrage, and his empire's stock prices started to bleed. In private, he raged, firing those he suspected, hiring mercenaries to silence the leak, and launching smear campaigns. But the whistleblower was always one step ahead, feeding the media just enough to keep the story alive and shaking the very foundations of the king's untouchable throne. The pressure reached its boiling point when an unexpected murder sent shockwaves through the empire. A trusted advisor, found lifeless in their penthouse, left behind cryptic notes hinting at betrayal and conspiracy. The king, once celebrated as a visionary, now found himself painted as a prime suspect. His paranoia grew. He installed cameras in every room, interrogated his inner circle, and cut ties with longtime allies. His wife and children, tired of living under constant fear, began planning their escape from his tightening grip. News outlets painted him as a tyrant hiding behind wealth, and online protests spread like wildfire. The man who once commanded loyalty through fear now saw his empire crumble from within. Every handshake felt like a trap, every whisper a knife waiting to strike. As the dominoes fell, the empire he had built over a decade collapsed in a matter of weeks. Cyber attacks targeted his most valuable servers, whistleblowers multiplied, and political leaders distanced themselves to save their own reputations. The king, who once controlled headlines, now begged for a chance to explain his side, but no one listened. Protesters surrounded his New York headquarters, chanting his name with venom. Shareholders withdrew their fortunes, allies fled to foreign countries, and lawsuits flooded in. Once hailed as the nation's savior of technology, he became a symbol of corporate greed and corruption. Alone in his penthouse, he stared at the city skyline, realizing that power built on fear and pride could never last. With federal agents closing in, he fled across the United States under false identities. From the crowded streets of New York to the deserts of Texas, his journey became a desperate race for survival. Every city offered false hope, every alley whispered betrayal. Old friends refused to help, some even turned him in for rewards. He moved through secret safe houses, changed cars like clothes, and left behind a trail of chaos. The FBI wasn't his only enemy now. Rogue agents and former partners were hunting him for revenge. Each day felt like a ticking bomb. Every stranger a possible assassin. Sleep became a luxury, trust a forgotten word, and survival his only obsession. Cornered at last in the political heart of Washington, D.C., prepared for one final gamble. A massive data leak was set to be unleashed, threatening to collapse the stock market and expose the nation's deepest secrets. If he couldn't rule, he would make the country kneel in chaos. For one last time, he called upon the remnants of his power, bribing senators, manipulating media, and promising loyalists a return to glory. But his enemies had grown too many and his resources too thin. Federal agents surrounded him, and as he made his final move, fate turned its cold hand against him in a twist that shocked the world. The once mighty king, now stripped of power and pride, sat in a high-security prison cell, staring at the steel bars that reflected his arrogance back at him. The empire he built had become his greatest punishment, every innovation a reminder of his crimes. Once a symbol of ambition and dominance, he was now a cautionary tale taught in business schools and political circles. His name, once shouted in admiration, became synonymous with betrayal and downfall. Nights were haunted by memories of those he ruined, and days passed in silence as the world moved on without him. In the end, his tears were the only throne left to sit upon.